In theaters now is the Bollywood action film Pathaan, starring Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika Padukone, sorry, and it is fabulous. It is fabulous. I see Bollywood films when I can. I'm lucky to live in a region where they play at the multiplexes pretty easily. That was not the case for the majority of my life. They tend to only really play in areas that have an Indian population, so they do wind their way onto streaming services, though, so keep that in mind as I talk about this film. If you can't see this in the theater, I would highly recommend seeing this in the theater. This is, like any Bollywood film, it is an action, thriller, spy, romance musical. The musical aspect is part of every Bollywood film, at least every one that I wind up going to see. And it's usually one or two moments in the film. There will just be this like fantasy musical number, no matter how serious the characters are. They break into song and it's like an MGM musical. It's gorgeous. It's dozens of people choreographed. It's crazy music and beautiful color. And then it goes back to the story that we've been watching. So this film is about sort of like a super secret agent who was thought dead and comes back and helps put together this team of other agents that have been wounded in some way. Broken eggshells, one of the commanders calls them. These people that are either psychologically or physically damaged and can't be the 100% full power agent that they were, but they can still use their skills to track down and take out the bad guys. So there is this big evil bad guy who shows up, kidnaps a bunch of scientists in a ridiculously spectacular action sequence involving helicopters and wire cables and multiple moving vehicles and tunnels and everything and giant machine guns and all kinds of crazy stuff. And this masked bad guy shows up and kidnaps these scientists. He later unmasks to find he is this international bad guy terrorist known as Jim. And he's threatening to expose the world to this really evil virus if they don't pay up and give over, where was it? Kashmir, I believe. Give Kashmir away. Give Kashmir back to the Kashmirians. And our hero is there to stop him. So you have your hero. You have the woman who is portrayed by Deepika Padukone. I'm very sorry. And these names are new to me, but they're all really great in this movie. And they join together to try to foil the bad guy. She from the inside and him from the outside. And it's really good. Now, but if you know about Bollywood movies, they tend to be a little on the lengthy side. I always say that the Indian film industry wants to give the people who buy that ticket as much entertainment as possible. It's a full evening of entertainment. You usually get a taste of every genre in it, and they're just big and amazing and wonderful. So this is a shorter one. This is a featurette by comparison to a lot of these movies. This is only 2.5 hours, and it never feels the length. It never felt long to me. I never felt like, oh God, is this still? It moves right along. It starts with a bang. The action is ridiculous. It's martial arts. It's motor vehicles. It's explosions. It's weapons. It's airplanes. It's I think there's probably a boat in here. There's an ice chase at one point that involves a dramatic moment of speed skating. I mean, it's just like, it has everything. Now, it also does a lot of things I don't like about action movies. A lot of times when the action kicks in, it's way overcut. It's hard to see what's going on, which is such a shame because what you do see is going on is really, really good fight choreography and good action stunt performances. And it always makes me mad that all the artistry and time and effort and danger that goes into creating these spectacular fight sequences or stunt sequences or action sequences are kind of just thrown away when you really can't see what the hell's going on. Now, you see that I really liked this movie, and if you watch me ramble about movies, you know how much I loathe what I call the disease, which has been with us for probably 30 years now in terms of really hard to see action. The good outweighed the bad for this movie. A lot of the stuff you could see, or you could see well enough, which is not, it's not right, but it's something. But so often, like you never see a punch land and connect. It's always cutting away before what you should be seeing. Like I always say, people who the glory days of Hong Kong action, they play out in a lot of wide shots, and the wide shot allowed you to take in what was going on and be amazed. And overcutting and camera shaking and cameras being too close, it doesn't give you anything much other than a headache and confusion. So that aside, the action in this is crazy. It's a lot of green screen. It's a lot of green screen, which I actually generally don't like too. It's a bit of CGI, which I generally don't like. But what they present to you visually is so crazy and ridiculous and over the top. I was just giggling with a huge smile on my face during a lot of these sequences. There's the sequence at the beginning on top of a couple moving vehicles. There's a sequence on top of a moving train that is beyond insane, and they know it, and they're playing into it, and it's not a spoof. It's not like Sharknado stuff, but it's almost a spoof. It goes so far over the edge of reality and believability, but it's so fun, and it's got such a fun attitude to it. And you do sense the danger. And yes, it's over the top. And the romance is great. And the singing and dancing is great. And everybody in this movie looks great. The hero, when he first busts in and strikes a pose, there's his wind blowing his hair. Everywhere he goes, it's a very windy area of India they shot this, because everywhere he goes, he's striking a pose, and he's chiseled, and you got the 6 or the 8 or the 12 pack or the 24 pack he's got going on there, and the wind is blowing his long hair. And you got the female lead, and she looks amazing, and she's striking poses, and she's badass with the foo and the action sequences too. I feel like to be an actor, or to be a youngish actor in the Indian film industry, in the Bollywood film industry, is almost like what they used to put actors through at Shaw Brothers back in Hong Kong back in the 60s and 70s, where you went to a school that taught you, or Peking Opera that Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung went to. It's like they put you through a school where you have to be able to be a good singer, you have to be able to be a good dancer, you have to be a good actor, you have to be good at comedy and drama, and you have to be able to do action sequences. It's really amazing. It's a genre that I'm still relatively new to. So it's always kind of a kick to go into these movies. I generally go in blind. I want to know enough about what kind of a genre it is. There's a couple that I skipped. If it's about a math team, I might skip it. But if it's about romance or action or horror or a thriller, I'm always going to go, and I've always had a good time with these. So if you can find in the theaters this film, P-A-T-H-A-A-N, Pathaan, I highly recommend it. Now, it is subtitled because they're speaking the native language, but interestingly enough, as India was colonized by the British for a long time, they peppered in with English phrases, which is always kind of amusing to me. And occasionally they'll talk to somebody who's an English speaker, and you'll get a little rest. You're like, oh, I don't have to read for a few minutes. But a lot of times they'll be talking, and then it'll be like, yes, sir. Or a few phrases will be in there. Or sometimes a sentence or two will be in English, and the rest will not be. Or half a sentence will be in English. It's interesting. At any rate, in theaters now, and this is rare too, because when I see Bollywood movies, they're usually around for 1 week only, and I see it now as going into a second week. So if you can see this in a theater, if you can't, write it down and find it on home video, because it'll be a blast. Pathaan in theaters now.